Yo guys, what's up? In the last couple of videos, I've been getting lots of comments asking about the settings I use, the best control scheme, what landing mode you should use. So I thought today what I would do is I would go through all my settings, kind of give my opinion on what I think you should be using or not using. And yeah, I mean, if you guys are curious, this is what it actually looks like for me to play Riders Republic. It's nothing too special. It's just kind of me sitting there, just being a bit of a nerd. So yeah, after I go through all the settings and stuff, I'll yeah, we'll just ride around the Republic, and I'll probably throw up like some sort of controller overlay, and yeah, you guys can see what exactly I'm doing on the controller. All right, let's go over to our options here and go to gameplay. So there's 3 landing modes. There's auto, manual, and steep mode. Personally, I would suggest using manual. So there's 2 reasons why I would suggest using manual landing. The first one is for the perfect landing bonus. As you can see, every time I get a perfect landing, I actually get a little bonus points, and it goes up to 6 perfect landings in a row, but you get 6,000 extra points just for landing the trick good, which is super helpful in trick events, especially if you're doing like trick battles or anything like that. It's hard to get perfect landings every time, especially when doing, you know, bigger spins, but if you can master manual landing, it's definitely the best way to play the game, especially if you're trying to get the most points and whatnot, right? Like, that's how you get the most points in the game. So if you're a competitive player, you want to do the best when it comes to leaderboards, or, you know, just getting first place, doing solo events, you know, just you got to use manual landing. And the second reason I would suggest using manual landing is it just gives you more control than the other 2 landing modes, right? Like, I'll go over this box jump right here. If I want a 360, right, I could do it like that, or I get the rotation right out of the way, or I have the option to do it, you know, slower. Oh my god, that was kind of like a... What was that? We almost did like a weird barrel, but yeah, there's like a slower dipped 3 there. Yeah, it just gives you more control as opposed to the other landing modes. I'm not used to using auto landing, but like, I'm trying to just 360 and it just feels impossible. I know on steep landing mode, that's not really the case, I don't think. Let me see if I can just 360. Yeah, steep is a lot better. You can use whatever you like the most, but to be honest, I wouldn't even suggest using auto landing. I think it's terrible. Like, the amount of people that ask me how you do 360s, I'm just assuming they're on auto landing and they just can't 360. Steep is definitely a little bit easier than manual. Especially if you're just trying to get smooth stuff. To be honest, if you don't even care about events and stuff, I might actually suggest using steep landing, just because it is a little bit easier than manual landing, and it's just so smooth. Like, it's really hard to get a 360 that smooth with that much height on manual landing. It's really tough. When I put the controller overlay up later, you guys will see exactly how I have to use my controller to get slow, smooth spins like that. But as you can see, like, even on steep, you know, we have assisted landing, which only gets you 200 extra points when you land. Whereas if you were to get perfect landing bonuses on manual landing, you're getting an extra 6,000 points, which really adds up when you're doing like trick events and whatnot. When it comes to the grind mode, I've constantly switched between manual and auto. To be honest, with the BMX, I haven't noticed a single difference between auto and manual. I do notice a big difference in the snow sports. So I don't know, you can kind of fiddle with that and see which one you prefer. I usually just keep it on manual, especially now that BMX is in the game. I will probably really only use the BMX now that that's in the game. These 2 are really important. You need to have in-air control. The reason why it's important to have those on is because when you're in the air, it allows you to dip your bike forward or pull it back, which can be super helpful for when you're trying to get into a manual, right? So when you're in a manual, you want to be able to pull back to get that bike leaned back, and then, you know, obviously if you're doing a nose manual, pushing it all the way forward and then pulling it halfway back for a manual is gonna work so much better than just holding it halfway. Although they did make manuals a lot easier this season, but yeah, I would always suggest just pulling the stick all the way back and then to halfway. It also just allows you to change the way your spins look, right? Like, if I hold forward while doing a cork, what was that, 1440? It's gonna look different as opposed to if I do the same rotation but pull back, right? Like, they almost look like two different spins. I mean, they're the same spin. Your bike is just angled completely different, but it allows you just, you know, add a little bit more style and your own flair in a game that does so much for you. Bike landing backwards, I mean, if you're trying to do a lot of fakies on the bike, just put that to manual. Bike fakie inverted navigation, this one's totally up to you. This is personal preference. And basically what that means is when I'm going backwards, if I steer to the left, I go left. If I steer to the right, I go right. And when it's off, you know, when you steer to the right, you'll go left. And when you steer to the left, you'll go right. BMX grind transfer, I have this one set to camera relative, but again, this is kind of just preference, really. When you're in a grind and you hold to the side, you will hop over in that direction. So having it camera relative, all that means is that no matter if I'm on it this way or this way, as long as I hold to the right or left, I will always go in that direction. If it's relative to the character, right, if I'm going straight on this rail and I hold the left, I will go over to the left. But if I go backwards on the rail, I would actually end up going to the right because I'm going to my character's left. Game difficulty, I would suggest playing everything at Elite. Honestly, a lot of the events in game are pretty easy to do on Elite. You don't need Elite gear. And the reason you'd use Elite, I mean, it says it right there. Set the difficulty level of your opponents. Higher difficulty will grant you better XP bonuses. If you want to level up the quickest and get rewards as fast as possible, you got to play at Elite. And here's a bunch of settings here that I have literally never touched ever. We head over to controller. I use Trickster. Again, this is personal preference, right? Like, we'll put it on Racer really quick. When it comes to the control scheme, it's really just personal preference. You can really use whatever you want. Right, like we can still ride on Racer. I just prefer to use Trickster. There is also Steep. That one I have tried. I just really don't understand it. I can't figure it out. But if you're new to the game, you know, try them all out. Trickster is, I think, what a lot of people use that are playing the game for tricks. Or Steep mode. I think a lot of people that play the game and focus on tricks use Steep. And then Racer is right in the name. If you're really playing this game for racing, I use Racer because Racer allows you to move your camera around, which could be handy in a race if you really quickly want to look behind you or something like that. Controller mapping, this is all the default button inputs. I haven't changed anything in here. Everything is set to the default of whatever it is. If you want to switch something up, this is the place to do it. You can completely change the button layout in here. So if you like Trickster controls, but you want to swap your sticks, you can do that. You can do anything you want in here, really. Stick dead zone, you should always put this as low as you can without it affecting your gameplay. I have like 0 stick drift on my controller, so I put this down as low as possible. Putting it as low as possible will just make your sticks a little bit more responsive, or as responsive as they can be. This is mouse and keyboard settings. I don't play on mouse and keyboard. I have a couple times for videos and stuff like that, but I cannot help you with this section here. Tap scans sound better suited for headphones. Okay, maybe I should try this. I didn't even know this was a setting in here. Game HUD, I usually have that hidden. If you guys are wondering how to hide all the extra stuff on screen, you know, if you're just free roaming, you just come here, Game HUD, hide. Social presence, hide. That's how you hide all the AI ghost players that are just riding around randomly. All those white dots all over your screen. If you're sick and tired of seeing those, go ahead and hide social presence. In-game units, I use metric just because I'm Canadian and that's the system we use up here. Co-op link, if you're sick and tired of seeing that huge glowing beam between you and your friends, just you can hide that right there. There's graphic settings. I was getting asked graphic settings a lot. I play at 4K, 120 hertz. Pixel scale for videos, I usually bump that down a little bit just because, you know, it's possible to leave that at 100, but just to ease my computer a little bit, we just put that to 95. I would only suggest going above 100 if you play on a 1080p monitor. I've played this game at 1080p. It definitely looks better if you put this up to like 115, I would say. 110, 115 definitely makes the game look quite a bit better, to be honest. But if you're on a 1440p or 4K monitor, just leave it at 100. It really doesn't need to go any higher than that. Extended FOV, this is your field of view. I leave that maxed out because that's just what I like. This is personal preference. FPS limit, I would always put that on unlimited. I guess we'll put it to 120 just because I get around 100 FPS anyways. So HDR, I mean, if you got an HDR display, turn that on. Overall quality, I got it on custom. When I played on a 1440p monitor, I basically had everything on ultra. But now on 4K, I kind of leave everything around the medium settings. Some stuff, you know, what we could put to high, but I've played on ultra settings and I've played on low settings. For the most part, it's really not even that noticeable to me. Like, look at water quality, for example. Look at high and low. Can you really see that big of a difference? You can for sure see a big difference in some, like reflections. There's obviously a big difference there. Grass quality, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it looks better. I don't know. I would just set these to where your VRAM is like almost maxed out. If you're recording videos and streaming and stuff, maybe have it a little bit lower just to make it a little bit easier on your PC. The only setting that I would absolutely recommend turning off is motion blur. I don't know why you'd want to play with motion blur. I mean, I guess if you like it, keep it on, but I would always suggest turning it off. It's just everything's so much clearer, and you can actually appreciate the beautiful graphics in this game. That actually took a lot longer than I was expecting it to. But yeah, I'll throw up a controller overlay, and I'll try and do a couple tricks for you guys, a couple lines. You know, I'll do some more techie street stuff over here, and then we'll go over to the Vans Park and flow around the bowl or something. Ow. I'll go ahead and show you guys how I do the slow 360s. Yeah, you can see I'm just constantly spamming the stick. Same if I want to do like backflips or something like that. Oh, that was funky. Oh my god, that is so nice. Oh my god, a little over-rotated. Anyways, guys, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now you know my settings, how I play the game. You've literally seen how I play the game. By the way, if you guys are interested in like a setup video or something, I've been thinking about doing that for a while. But anyways, yeah, there it is. Maybe I'll do a stream, maybe tomorrow or something, where I'll have the controller up so you can maybe ask me to do something specific. But I think that covers pretty much everything. Really, the main stuff I get asked besides settings and stuff is how do you land in a manual? I mean, if you can do a manual on flat, just keep your stick in the same position and hop. You'll see that that's still how you land in a manual. And I see a lot of things like how do you 360 on flat? Look at my controller, boys. You just do that. Side to side. You could even just go back to the same side. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said earlier, I think the main people that are having problems with that are probably on auto landing. But yeah, use manual landing. It's going to be tough at first, but I believe in you. Stick with it. You can do anything you put your mind to.